Generation X. In general terms, those born between 1965 and 1980. Latchkey kids. Independent. Existentialism. Modern philosophy focusing on personal experience, human ability, and responsibility in an otherwise meaningless universe. We're the cause. This is the effect. We're the Gen Existentialists. Welcome into the Gen Existentialists. My name is Scott.
And I'm Bunny.
And we're here to talk for a while about all manner of wondrous and wild things, depending upon what Mega Wheel the Magnificent comes up with. If you're wondering if this is your first time on the show, this is basically the concept. We've got a wheel with over 500 topics. We spin it, and then we talk about stuff. And we are, of course, both Gen X, so that I don't know, does it color our point of view, or does it actually provide the foundation for our point of view?
I think it's a little of both. I mean, it's who we are. It's what we were immersed in and what we grew up with. So
this is us. Yeah. Welcome to it. So we're going to spin Mega Wheel the Magnificent, and we're going to see what we come up with. And in general, Bunny will take first shot at the topic, but sometimes he'll volley it back to me, and I'll be caught completely unawares. But, This is right up your alley.
Oh, well.
And it's a very narrow topic. What's your favorite movie of all time?
Favorite movie of all time is Dawn of the Dead, 1978.
Why?
Why is it my favorite movie? It is in my opinion, it's the quintessential zombie movie. It's the only zombie movie you need, in my opinion. George Romero directed it. George Romero was a fantastic director who deals in both social commentary as well as just directing action sequences. He's very character-driven and character-oriented with his writing and his directing. And this movie has it all. It's got, it takes its stabs at society. It's all about societal collapse. It's apocalypse on a larger scale than the original movie Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah,
which was a very isolated incident. This is on a nationwide, nay, worldwide scale.
Okay.
So it was so good. I actually wrote a senior paper about it when I was in college.
Oh, cool!
For my film class. So
nice.
Yeah.
Is it? I assume the answer to this is yes. Is it the film for you that a couple times a year you'll watch it again just to go through it?
Yeah, people have made a number of cuts. There's one out there floating around on the interwebs. If you type in Dawn of the Dead extended mall hours cut.
That's bizarre.
Yeah, it's because the majority of the film takes place in a shopping mall, an abandoned shopping mall.
Yep.
So this person has taken all the little bits from all the different cuts and all the different DVD extras and spliced them together into a coherent film that's nearly 3 hours long. And it's brilliant. It completely tells the tale. I'll watch it 3 or 4 times a year. It's one of those desert island films for me.
So that's like the actual director's cut. Like this is everything.
Yeah, George Romero had a tendency of making laboriously long films and having lots of other people cut them into shreds.
Yeah.
So that they're more palatable to the average viewer. But in this case, it really fleshes out the characters. It fleshes out the story of what's happening and what's happening in all strata. So you get it from the police point of view, from the newscaster's point of view, from the average citizen's point of view.
Nice.
The whole thing. So it's nice.
Would you, with your background and like what you do for a living, would you like to take a shot at re-editing the movie? If you had all the actual footage.
No, I honestly think that whoever did this extended mall hours cut probably did the best version that could be out there. It's coherent. It makes sense. It's just long enough for big fans of the movie to really, soak in it and get comfy with it. So I think they did a really good job.
Nice. Very cool. So my favorite movie of all time, if I gave you one guess, what would you pick?
I would probably say Empire Strikes Back.
You are so close.
That was just a regular old Star Wars?
No,
Okay.
it's actually Return of the Jedi.
Oh my gosh.
And here's why. It's obviously not the Ewoks, although I don't mind the Ewoks. What I love about Return of the Jedi is the redemption of Anakin Skywalker and the growth of Luke Skywalker. Because you're introduced to him in the first film as the farm boy. And through the course of the trilogy, he grows as a person, as a character, as a Jedi. And one of the things I think is misinterpreted toward the end, after he is dueled his father, Anakin, Darth Vader, when he throws down his lightsaber and tells the Emperor that, you don't have me, I'm a Jedi like my father. He has surpassed Anakin. He didn't fall to the dark side. And I just think that story in and of itself is just amazing. I love that final scene in the Emperor's throne room, the duel. There's the moment when Luke is above Vader, and obviously this was years before the prequels actually happened, but the way they played it in the prequels, where Obi-Wan is above Anakin, I've got the high ground, and Vader makes the comment, Obi-Wan has taught you well. That's, they kind of tied that stuff in like that. So all those moments in the prequels where you had things like that called back or called forward, depending on how you're watching them, I just love all those little things that tied the movies together and fleshed out the story so well.
That's cool.
Yeah.
We have to talk about the elephant in the room, though.
Which one?
Ewoks. and
what
to
is
a everybody's
problem with
and
they're
to
little...
a lesser extent, Sny Snootles.
Sny Snootles is awesome.
Oh dear. All right.
Max Rebo.
Max Rebo is fine. I remember as a child almost face palming when Sny Snootles came on. I thought I was in, and I was young then. I was 10 years old when I saw that at the theater, and I thought, wow, there's this leash demeans us both. It was one of those situations, where it was just like, wow, I feel a little insulted. And then the Ewoks came on, and I was like, is this ever going to end, like this Ewok stuff?
But you know what? You're on a forest moon.
Yeah. I understand the concept of them, and they're fine for what they are. I understand they were originally supposed to be like man-eating, like little monsters.
They
are. Yeah, I mean they do. Try
you don't
to eat
see
them.
it in the movie, but all those stormtrooper helmets, those guys were roasting on spits. I guarantee it.
This is true. I just felt like the Ewok stuff went on a little too long. It was very 80s.
Yeah,
the whole thing.
It was a product of its time, but at the same time, how can you have a problem with the Ewoks and not have a problem with Chewbacca?
Well, Chewbacca. There's only one Chewbacca, and he doesn't get as much airtime as you think he would, which is kind of good.
He didn't get enough.
Well, okay, we differ on that one, but the Ewoks, they were just all over the place, and a little too meepy, where they make like weird noises and stuff. It's not my thing.
You know what? They're aliens. It would have pressed things harder if they had been able to speak Galactic Basic or
how
English.
kick-ass would it have been if they'd stuck with the original idea of Wookiees, all beating the crap out of everybody? I mean,
yeah,
it would have been pretty kick-ass.
It would have jumped the shark if they had recruited the Ewoks and taken them up to the Death Star to help in a frontal assault.
That would have been pretty great, actually.
That would have been awful.
I want to see an Ewok piloting a spaceship. That would have been ludicrous.
Yeah, I honestly never had a problem with the Ewoks. I understand why some people did, but it's the same thing as any of the other alien species. And
I think
things.
A little Ewok goes a long way, I guess is what I'm saying. A lot of the other alien species, I mean, Jawas can be thought of in that respect as like yeah, but they weren't in it that much. I mean, they had that one little bit at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then you never really saw them. You saw them sitting around in bars and stuff, but they weren't central to the story of we're taking the Empire down or or taking the rebels down or something. They weren't recruited for anything. They just kind of were hanging around.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, the Ewoks, their planet had been invaded by the Empire. They weren't happy with them being there anyway. And when the rebellion showed up, it made sense. They team up.
True.
Wasn't a problematic thing. So I don't know. I just, as a resolution to a trilogy, and in the way that the film tied up all of most of the questions and potential loose ends, I thought it was great. And the redemption of Anakin and all that stuff, especially now, decades later, where we know Anakin's backstory and how he ended up where he was. That's why I would say, Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Or, per the original title, Revenge of the Jedi.
There you go.
But Jedis don't seek revenge, so Return. And that's the thing, too. The title of the film, Return of the Jedi, who was that title referring to? Was it referring to the Jedi overall? Or was it referring to Anakin?
I don't know. Good question.
Yeah, things to think about. See, I spend way too much time thinking about stuff exactly like that.
Scott's kind of a hardcore Star Wars nerd.
I have sat down and literally lost hours pondering that. Was the title referring to the Jedi Order? Was it referring to Luke? Probably not. Was it referring to Anakin, his redemption? And I enjoy thinking about stuff like that. But see, I'm the guy who loves explicating poems, and it's hard for me to read stuff without shredding it, without tearing it apart. It's one of the reasons I've gotten so into comic books lately, is because they're told from a completely different perspective, and the graphic aspect keeps me from doing that. I can just read the story, and I love it because I can just read it and enjoy it, and it's awesome.
This is where I feel like a total normie, because my wife, I'm going to throw my wife under the bus on this one. Hey, Jean, if you're out there listening, throwing you under the bus. Now, my wife will watch a movie, and it's a rarity if I can get her to sit through a movie. She's, she just likes to think about hundreds of things when she's watching stuff. But then afterwards, she will deep dive on it and do research on it and theories about this and why did this happen and who was this, and then she wants to know all about the actors and actresses. I'm such a dullard, I guess, when it comes to...
You don't do that?
I don't. I watch something and I enjoy it for what it is, and then I put it away, and I watch it maybe later, or I just never watch it again. I don't care about actors and actresses. I don't care about overarching plots, in a world that doesn't exist. I'm really bad about stuff like that. I'm very passionate about my entertainment, but that's all it is entertainment for me.
Oh God, no. See, and I think that's one of the reasons I am to this day such a hardcore Star Wars fan, is because you've got the main films, but there are novels, there are comic books, there are short stories. There are so many things out there that fill in the cracks and tell the stories behind the scenes and the stuff that you don't see. The movies tell you the story, great, but there are always those little questions.
Sure.
Like, that's why Rogue One was so good, because as a 4-year-old, you probably had the same thing. That opening scene of Star Wars, how did they get there? Why is that big ship chasing that little ship?
Mezzanine.
And that's a question that for decades haunted me. And in Rogue One, you get that story, and I love that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Absolutely. Just, I fall to pieces about it.
I've never been one to care about the origin stories of characters so much. And that's, I know it is for a lot of people. I mean, that's cinema. Hollywood has built itself on that in the last few decades. It's always, who was this, and how did they start, and what happened to them, and why are they the way they are? Sometimes things are just the way they are. I don't need to know.
But I mean, from a filmmaker's perspective, if you're going to write a story about 4 people, aren't you going to do a character sketch and backstory for all 4 of them?
I might, depending on how important they are in my story.
Okay. So you would, if you've got a peripheral character, you don't really need that.
I don't care. Yeah, I mean, if they're going to get bumped off in the first hour of whatever I'm writing, I don't really care.
So what if the actor comes up to you and says, I need to know what my motivation is for asking for a pastrami sandwich at that time of day?
Because you're hungry.
But why am I hungry?
You're hungry because you're human. I mean...
I don't know. I don't know what my motivation is, man.
Actors are dime a dozen.
Get off my set!
Exactly. Now, I mean, I've always looked at an actor, or should I say a character? I'm not going to say actor, because there's a very straight delineation in my mind between an actor and a character. But I've always looked at a character as really nothing more than a metaphor for a viewer. Like, whatever emotion you're feeling at the time, or wherever you are in your life, you can find a TV or a movie character that mirrors your experience or what you're going through right now. And I think that's the value in my mind of creating characters. Not so much now, it's great that people have fleshed these people out. They've created entire universes around everything from Looney Tunes to Star Wars to Dungeons and Dragons to whatever, The Sopranos, whatever. Yeah. It's great that they've done that for people who really want to take those deep dives. I'm just not one of them.
And, I don't want you to think that I do it all the time.
No.
I don't. There are plenty of albums. There are plenty of movies and TV shows that I can just watch sheerly for entertainment. Like last episode, we were talking about game shows. You don't dig
I'm
in
super
on
invested in the whammy. What's the origin of the whammies?
There's plenty of stuff out there that is just entertainment, but this goes back to something we've talked about before, like with music. I do take it seriously. Like if I am part of the creative component, if I'm writing a song with someone, do the lyrics matter? Yes.
Okay.
Very much. Does the impact of the song matter? Yes, very much. But there's also the other aspect of, if it's not fun to listen to, who the hell cares?
Yeah.
And that's something I think, like, I like a lot of progressive music, but at the same time, I understand how most people, that style of music, they just go, it's just not fun. You're right. A lot of it isn't. A lot of it just isn't fun.
Sure.
So there's something out there for everybody. I guess it's kind of what it comes down to.
Well, I'm very grateful for people like you and Gene who do deep dives into these things and know who these actors and actresses are, because I don't. And if I ever need to be schooled in that, I can just come to one of you guys and be like, so tell me about this more, because I think with me, when I'm creating something, I'm not so focused on let's take it from a military point of view. I'm not so focused on the soldiers themselves. I'm more focused on the outcome, like the overall battle map.
Sure.
So I'm more about what emotions are my projects going to convey. That's I'm more worried about how that tidal wave is going to hit you.
Yeah.
And if you're going to feel the way that I'm trying to convey the feeling to you.
Okay.
Are you going to feel that way? Or are you going to feel the exact opposite? Why do you feel that way?
And see, that right there is what I'm talking about. If you're the actor trying to get into that role,
sure,
some background. And the thing is, you can come up with it together. You can tell the actor, look, not really sure. What have you got?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. From my experience, and I'm going to throw Lucas under the bus on this one, George Lucas. From my experience, actors are only as good as a director, and a director is only as good as a scriptwriter. If all that holy trinity isn't working together, it doesn't matter what motivation you give. The people will not give you the performance that you need.
If you cast the wrong people.
Oh, yeah.
Train wreck.
Casting is a train wreck.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's one of those things, going back to Meet Cleaver Theater.
A tour de force of entertainment.
The reason I bring that up is because you were the creative mind behind it.
Yeah.
It was your show. I participated in it, helped out, ran camera, helped out with sound, and I was also a Murgo.
Mm-hmm.
I was also St. Corman.
Yes.
And very little background, for either one of those characters. I think the most you said about St. Corman is you're the patron saint of B movies.
Yes.
And I kind of went, okay, so I'm wearing a toga, and my wife made a toga with a flaming scarf and stuff, and that was St. Corman.
Yeah.
And it was more just roll with it. With Emergo, you're a talking skeleton. We've got a skeleton. We're going to tie fishing line to the jaw.
Yep.
And
it's a high budget show, kids.
But it was wonderful too.
Yeah, and here's the thing: Meet Cleaver Theater wasn't a high stakes production. I wasn't building on characters that existed in literature or poetry or previous film or, Lord forbid, real life. I wasn't basing any of these characters on that.
Yeah.
St. Corman was named that for Roger Corman, who is a prolific B-movie director. It's still going to this day, amazing enough. But other than that, it was just a name drop.
Yeah.
For a laugh for somebody out there who'd get that. And Emergo, what do they say? We're all white inside. We're all skeleton, inside. So the skeleton could be anything you want it to be.
Hey, Butch, how you doing?
Exactly. So he ended up being like Red Fox, basically.
The voice was a combination of Red Fox and Lemmy from Motorhead.
Well, there you go. So, and that's fine, because it's funny.
Yeah.
So,
and sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah, if I'm directing or basing a character on something that has real stakes to it, you know, that's something that I really despise about modern Hollywood, is that they don't honor what came before them. They're constantly trying to remake it, redo it, reimagine it, whatever. Divert your expectations or whatever it was that some of these jackasses say, oh, I'm going to invert it and make it my own. It's like,
stop.
There are established icons in literature, film, television, song, folklore. They're iconic for a reason.
Yes.
And they shouldn't be trifled with. And it gets even more egregious when you try to swap out somebody who was actually alive.
Yes.
And you swap them with a different race, or you swap them with a different gender, or you swap them with a completely different attitude. And, this guy, well, now he's fat and a complete bastard, even though he was thin and black or something in the past.
Why not expand on the story instead of rebooting it?
Exactly.
Do something new take the same characters, but tell a new story.
Because that's
them.
what lazy people do when they've got a grift going.
Yeah. Fair point.
Sorry. I'm getting on my soapbox.
And this is the point where your two hosts, the Gen Existentialists, go outside and shake their fists at the clouds and get mad about people on their lawn.
Fuck those clouds.
So with that, we will wrap up this episode. This has been the Gen Existentialists. My name's Scott.
And I'm Bunny.
And if you want to email us or actually just get in touch with us, go to our Facebook page. It is under Morning Pizza Radio on Facebook. Send us a message there, like it, follow it, and stay up to date on everything we're doing. And the email address is
morningpizzaradio@proton.me, proton.me.
This has been the Gen Existentialists. Thank you for joining us. Have a good one.